As a Won Buddhist minister, 교무님, I often ask myself, what does it mean to be a teacher? And more importantly, what does it mean to walk with teachers in today's world? Serving in both Korea and the United States, I've seen how differently people relate to spiritual teachers. In Korea, shaped by Confucian values, teachers are deeply respected, almost sacred. Oh yeah. There's even a phrase, 군사부일체. The ruler, the teacher, and the parent are one. The parent gives life, the teacher shows the way, and the ruler upholds order. Teachers weren't just instructors, they were mentors of the heart. There's even an old saying, one should not even step on the shadow of their teachers. But here in the United States, why are you laughing? The relationship feels different, more open, more questioning, more collaborative, which is good.
Euphemism for it.
Very diplomatic.
And that made me reflect, what do we really expect from a teacher? And am I, in any sense, living up to that? So these cultural contrasts don't just shape how we teach. They shape how we trust, how we relate, and how we grow. In light of that, I revisited a passage from the Scripture of the Founding Master, Chapter 10, Belief and Dedication. The Founding Master says, when someone wishes to become a disciple, the teacher must first examine the person's belief and dedication. With this belief, Dharma will be transmitted and you will become the Dharma vessel of the Buddhas and enlightened masters. He describes the believing mind this way: not doubting the teacher even in the face of rumors or personal uncertainty, not clinging to one's own opinions, fully open to any feedback and guidance without assuming, calculating, or judging, and being honest and openly sharing everything, including hindrances, worries, and concerns. This is the Won Buddhist perspective on teachers, guiding us how to walk on the path with teachers. To me, this sounded too rigid, and I doubted whether that kind of belief and dedication is even possible, especially in today's world, especially here in the United States. But then I thought, maybe it's not about obedience. Maybe it's about trust. The kind of trust that makes real transformation possible. This realization led me to think more deeply about what kind of teachers actually bring transformation. And history gives us surprising answers. There is an expression, sitting down to tea with Mara. Even when criticized or challenged, close ones, Shakyamuni Buddha faced and embraced them. Some Zen masters slept, shouted, or said strange things like moo or 3 pounds of flax. They didn't do it to confuse, they did it to break through ego and wake people up. And here comes my personal stories. Every teacher I met had different characteristics. Some were caring, patient, some were very quiet, but gave me the perfect wisdom for the moment. And some were eccentric and strong-willed. In my first year as a 교무님, I felt anxious about being called upon to give monthly Dharma talks on stage, something quite rare among junior ministers. Junior ministers usually lead children's meditation on Sundays. Also, leading the deliverance chant during deliverance services was considered a special role reserved for head 교무nims. And I never imagined I'd be the one to do it. But my head 교무님 at the time, Jung Tawan님, made me do it often. At the time, I felt pushed, but I also truly appreciate her for giving me those opportunities. What moved me most was how she guided others according to the Tao of what is right and beneficial for all. However, she wasn't always smooth or polished in her words, sometimes even rough. That roughness, I'll admit, was hard for me to take, and I felt hurt, diminished, and unsure of my place. One day, I left the temple without saying a word, thinking I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I stayed away for a month and returned at her request. I admitted all my mistakes, and we both shared what we regretted. We then tried to change. We tried real hard, and to begin again with more open hearts. I stayed and served at the temple with Chung Tawanim for an additional 4 years. And those bumpy, uncomfortable moments turned out to be turning points. Moments that cracked open the old shell of who I thought I was, peeling away another layer of ego. She once told me, "I know, Reverend Shaun, you're doing hard work and trying, but Head Gyomunim has a different kind of radar. No matter how rough or lacking I may seem, my radar reaches very far. You probably don't realize this." Well, now I understand. What she meant by the radar is to see each person and still keep the greater picture in mind. Not only the present, but the future growth of a person, community, and all. Now I truly understand Chung Tawa님's guidance, and she tried in so many ways for such long time to help me grow. Amid my unskillfulness, she saw potential in me and guided me towards serving the English-speaking community here in North Carolina. And it's the same here. Even while juggling many miscellaneous tasks, sometimes it's not easy to keep up with Reverend Won Gong's radar that watches over the whole. There are times when the head Gyomunim is away. When there is no tiger in the mountain, the fox is happy and acts like a king. But this fox can get exhausted taking care of everything. Looking back, I might have been a baby fox jumping around, either thinking I knew everything or not caring. Now, I may have become more mature and understand myself better and what I am doing. Well, now I don't run away. Now I have a little more of 신심, the believing mind, which is not doubting the teacher, clinging less to my own opinions, and staying more open to feedback and guidance without assuming, calculating, and judging. And I try to be more honest and share more openly, including my hindrances, worries, and concerns. So then, who is my teacher now? In the principal book of Won Buddhism, under the 4 essentials, we are taught the primacy of the wise. The idea that everyone can be our teacher. Whoever knows more than I do in any area, whether in profession, knowledge, common sense, or attitude toward life, can be my teacher. In that sense, each of you is a teacher to me. But when it comes to the way, the path of awakening, I take Sotaesan, the founding master, as my guiding teacher, and through him, I also revere Shakyamuni Buddha and all the enlightened sages. However, my direct teacher at the moment is Reverend Won Gong. She walks this path with me. the one I can confess to, ask questions of, receive guidance from, and grow beside. Well, she's not perfect, of course, but she has qualities I deeply admire. She empowers lay members to take on leadership roles. She stays open to feedback and keeps learning. She actively seeks inspirational change, trying not to fall into formality and mannerism. Most of all, her energy is always focused on the well-beings of each temple practitioner and spiritual growth as an individual and as a community. I try not to calculate or judge her guidance, but to share my thoughts and situations openly and honestly. And yes, sometimes I still grumble a bit. Sometimes I say no. But like any mentor-mentee relationships, we are growing together. So I ask you, how are you walking with your teachers?